we do glorify a broken individual that's like a mess. Their body is an absolute mess.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another Bulletproof for BJJ podcast. Do you get a yearly checkup? Now, here's the thing. BJJ is going great. You know, no real injuries, maybe a little bit of lumps and bumps. You're going awesome. You think, oh, grading coming up. But, you know, maybe you haven't been to the dentist for a while. Maybe you haven't got your car regoed just yet. We have yearly checkups for so many other things. People getting their cholesterol checked, their blood pressure checked. But we rarely get a body checkup where we actually go, you know, maybe I should get my shoulder checked out. It's, you know, it's a bit sore. It's been sore for ages. And we just don't do it. And I think this is a massive problem in jiu-jitsu. And, you know, this is something that, you know, we're working on. But I wanted to discuss it because I recently regoed my car and I was...
Only because you had to.
Yeah, I mean,
government's
whatever.
like, you'll go to jail if you don't do this.
Yeah, you don't do this and we are going to suspend your license and you're in big trouble, you know.
So we've decided to institute a new law amongst jiu-jitsu players.
Yeah.
You will go to jail unless you start training our program.
Sorry, guys. We spoke to the governor of California. It's just one of those things. I go to the dentist probably every 6 months. I don't eat a lot of sugar. I brush my teeth, floss, do all the things. I had cavities back in the day, and now I barely get any because of I pay more attention to it. And so I'm not afraid to go to the dentist, but I'm a bit of a numpty when it comes to my car.
What about skin cancer check?
Yeah, do that every now and again. Yeah, but I'm also like
I'm bad with those.
Not in the sun so much. Farmer Joe, you spend more time in the sun than me, I would say.
It's true.
But I could
Suburban king.
But I could see you with the big hat and the protection as well.
I mean, I have it, but you know, you're always exposed.
You're an urban man.
Out there.
It's what it is. You've got the tan. But here's the thing. Even though you might go to the doctor and get a blood check or, you know, a physical, you know, this is not something required for BJJ. As long as you can show up. If you keep showing up, the coach is happy. The coach is not like, oh, you appear to be walking with a limp. Someone walks with a limp to the mat, the coach is like, my guy, like, I'm so proud of your fortitude and showing up even though you can't walk straight, you know?
You know, not throwing any shade, Raphael LeVado Jr.
I saw that.
Posted a couple of days ago.
He's
got a man rolls up on a wheelchair.
Well, it's like a walker, but he's sitting in it.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, like kind of wheels himself over.
Straight to the mat.
Hops onto the mat and then, you know, starts rolling with Raphael. And, you know, in the caption he talks about like, oh, this is my man. I think it's one of his black belts, right?
He's a coach.
Dude's knees are a wreck. Like
double knee reconstruction coming.
Yeah, double knee reco coming. He's got like no meniscuses or some shit. Still trains every day, smashes everyone. You know, what a warrior kind of thing. Absolutely. But it was also a good example of how we do glorify a broken individual that's like a mess. Their body is an absolute mess. Yes. And all they're doing is making it more of a mess. Yes, they are also exhibiting great toughness and
dedication,
commitment and all those things, right? But you're like, I wouldn't want that for anyone. You
don't want that in your life.
No, like as having had knee issues myself, I'm like, bro, you just don't want them because that shit will affect your entire life.
And here's the thing. When you drive your car, you have an engine light, you know, you have an oil light. And if you have like a more advanced car, sometimes they tell you your tire pressure. It tells you like, it's pretty amazing now. Because back in the day, you had to be like a legit mechanic to open up the hood and test out the engine. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying mechanics today are not skilled. But for example, I've seen...
Throw some shade, bro.
No. But I've seen my mechanic, he gets out this little computer thing. He opens up this part in the front and he connects his tablet assessor to my car and then runs a diagnostic and it tells him what is wrong with my car. And now obviously he has the skills to go through and fix those problems, but technology has brought it a long way.
You're like, I think it's the carburetor. It's like, no, we haven't had those for like 40 years.
Dude, righto, cool. And I'll just go do the shopping. I'll leave this in the safe hands. Charge me $950 for 2 hours labor. That's what I get. But here's the thing, and we've touched on it before. If you never go to the dentist, like if you just never go, and now you've got a toothache and you've got sensitivity, you've got problems, this is going to be expensive. You know in yourself, you get this dread. Same way, taxes, you haven't done them for a couple of years, like, it's going to be expensive.
Yeah.
You know, like it's always the way. We have this kind of cognitive bias where we're like, nah, if I just put it off, it'll be better later. No, it's not. Yeah. And what I wanted to say is this. This is how it came up. A friend of mine was telling me how well their jiu-jitsu was going. It was going good. They're kicking ass. They just started doing more birimbolos, more inversions. They're taking people's backs. They're choking people. They're like, this is great.
I've had that situation a couple of times recently where I've come to training with some water, but I haven't had any electrolytes, and I've finished training and I've had to go to a convenience shop and buy myself some kind of sports drink, usually a Gatorade. Cost me like $7. It's small and it really doesn't contain that much of the good stuff that I'm looking for, which are the electrolytes. Sodi, on the other hand, is my partner when it comes to hydration, and I'd simply just run out of it. And it sucks because I got to go buy expensive stuff that doesn't do anywhere near as good a job. I'm super stoked that we've been restocked with the Sodi, and now I can be properly hydrated when I train jiu-jitsu. This has always been an underexplored aspect of my training, and I'm so stoked that we now have these guys in place to support us and also the listeners of the show. So if you want to be hydrated on the mats so that you can perform at your best and have the best mental clarity while training, get yourself some Sodi. Go to sodi.com.au. That's SODII.com.au. Get yourself some delicious hydration salts and use the code bulletproof15 for 15% off. Go to sodi.com.au. Get yourself hydrated.
And now he's, mid-40s, and he's actually starting to, he admitted that his back was hurting more because he's playing a lot more guard and he's inverting more. And it doesn't mean he has a back injury, but he's like, oh, my lower back's always sore. It's always cooked. It's like, once I warm up, I'm good. And jiu-jitsu's going great, so I don't care. And I said, oh, man, had you thought about maybe just getting your back checked out? You know, just go to a physio, get a bit of a checkup. No, it's fine. Like, I'm not injured. Not injured. That was the phrase he kept coming up with. And I said, yeah, cool. And I don't wish bad on my man, but you might be pre-injury. Like there might be a little bit of deterioration there, or there might be something that you're brewing up, which is going to turn into something more catastrophic later. And if you don't get checked, you don't know, because we don't have the oil light, we don't have the engine light. So what I wanted to talk about is like, how could we institute something once a year? You go and get your body checked, just a body check, do a few physical checks. We're all pretty good here. Continue. Or hang on a second, this is a problem. We need to sort it out. So has this conversation come up as well? When you go to the doctor, you might think, oh, I'm fine. Oh, I got this pain in my stomach. And then you finally go to the doctor and they're like, there's a lump here. And then you go, holy shit, cold sweat. What does that mean? Because it's, we're taught to just soldier on, and we're taught to keep going, especially in jiu-jitsu, and ignoring something which is kind of bugging you in the name of just doing jiu-jitsu better can have really serious consequences for your health.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that preemptive approach is we do that with cars. It's like every 10,000 Ks or whatever, right? Or every year, whichever comes first, get your shit serviced. And so it's like, get it serviced so that you're not in here getting a new gearbox in 3 years' time, or you're not getting the engine replaced, right? Yeah. I think I would imagine that for most people listening, myself included, it's like, oh yeah, like maybe some of us do some of those things okay. Like maybe with your car, maybe you go to the dentist, but like, oh yeah, skin cancer check. I haven't done that for years, or like, oh, actually, yeah, I haven't been to the physio for ages and my shit's aching. I wanted to put one thing forward. For me, the having a regular practice with your strength and or flexibility is like, in a way, like a really good diagnostic tool, because you're training formalized movements on a regular basis. And that gives you that feedback, right? Like if I'm in the gym and I can't do something because my lower back's hurting that day, I'm like, I've got a lower back thing. Better go see the chiro, physio, whatever. Whereas if I didn't have that practice, I'd just be showing back up to jiu-jitsu again, being like, back's a bit sore, but I know I'm good after the warm-up, and then off we go.
Yeah.
Tell me how you feel that plays into the checkup idea.
So I think for a lot of people listening to this, they like the idea of going to the gym, but they don't.
Right.
Many of our lovely listeners, we still love you, don't worry, but you don't do our program. And that's okay, but it's definitely not in your favor. And so for many people out there, they might have other stuff they do.
That behavior is not in your favor. The program is definitely in your favor.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. By you neglecting that facet of life, you're doing yourself a disservice. And part of it is the check-in. I know for myself, like I might have thought, oh man, I went to a wrestling class. Man, wrestling was so good last night. And then I go to lift my arms up overhead and I'm like, oh, my neck, my shoulder, it's so jacked. And I didn't realize till I tried to put my hands above my head. I'm like, wow, overhead pressing is going to be shit today. Turkish get-ups are going to be almost borderline impossible today. And that's the feedback, right? But if you don't have something in your life, and a lot of you don't, you're not getting the feedback.
Yeah.
And as long as jiu-jitsu is going good, who cares?
Yeah.
Right? Like jiu-jitsu's good, I'm winning.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, because your day-to-day life doesn't expose those things.
No.
Like you can just kind of float through with the sore back or with the tight shoulders and like do what you need to do and then get to jiu-jitsu and just get through the warm-up and then off we go.
Yeah, and here's the thing. It goes, as humans, we are very adaptable. So if you've got low-level pain somewhere, over time, you kind of get used to it. It makes you shitty, but you kind of get used to it.
Yeah.
You know, my mum would always say stuff to me like, oh, you're like a bear with a sore head. You know, I'm always growling because I was hungry. I was dieting a lot when I was younger for Taekwondo. But when I was hungry, I was just like, always had this undercurrent, a not nice person.
You would have been awesome to be around.
I was the worst. I was absolutely the worst person.
You're a handful when you're well fed. I can't imagine fasting.
Yeah, it's not good for anybody. But that's the thing too. If you've got a constant knee ache or a constant neck ache, you're never going to feel really happy. And these things pile up. And then you don't realize you're being a complete fuckwit until someone's like, hey man, like what's going on with you? Like, nothing. I'm doing great at jiu-jitsu. Life's good. Fucking leave me alone. Hand me a Panadol. You know, and then you do. And then not drug dependency, but what really hit me about my caffeine intake, and a lot of people don't appreciate this about caffeine, it also it helps block pain receptors. And so I didn't, for a while there when I was carrying a few injuries with my hip and my knee, I didn't realize part of the reason why I wanted the caffeine was it did immediately just take the pain down a notch when I had it. And it's not massive, but it takes the edge off. Yeah. In the same way people who are suffering often drink. Like they, you know, like whether it's emotional suffering or physical suffering, it's an anesthetic, right? Have that hit, takes the edge off. That's this thing. And then eventually it's like one drink isn't doing it. Maybe I need a double shot there. Or maybe I need 3. And then maybe, I just, you know, I'm a casual drinker. I just drink 5 drinks a night. And then, you know, you find that you're taking Voltaren really regularly, and really we're just putting Band-Aids on bullet wounds.
Fuck, I've had a few Voltaren recently and I've been sleeping so good.
Oh, mate. You know, and I'm not saying this to shame anybody who's out there just dealing with some shit. You're dealing with it. You're going through it. Case in point, right? But how could we unwind that a little bit? Because injury is kind of unavoidable, but if you're on a good streak and you're not injured per se, I think it is worthwhile that we get some kind of a checkup. So the physical checkup is what I'm talking about here. I'm not talking about blood pressure, not talking about cholesterol, not talking about that. That's up to you. But I'm saying, can you do an ass to grass squat? Can you lean forward and touch your toes and not have like really bad back pain? Can you hang from a bar? Because I had a friend of ours in the gym recently, heavyweight black belt, a legend, but I do believe he's bulged a disc in his back.
Right.
Because of the way he was described.
This episode is brought to you by Parry Athletics, the exclusive apparel sponsor of the Bulletproof for BJJ podcast. We've been working with these guys for quite some time now. We absolutely love the company. We love their gear, both for training and also just looking slick off the mats. They got excellent no-gi wears, shorts, t-shirts, all that cool stuff. If you want to get yourself into some Parry clothes or you want to rock the Bulletproof for BJJ exclusive merch, you got to go through Parry, go to parryathletics.com and use the code Bulletproof20 to get 20% off your order. They ship internationally.
Now, I don't have MRI vision. No, like, what would your superpower be? MRI vision, baby. That's how you make some money. Just it's a bulge disc. L4, L5. That's it.
People are like, thanks, JT. So you'd be like,
money. Sucks. But here's the thing. I said, well, what can help alleviate this pain in your back is hanging. I said, could you just reach up and hang off the base? He's like, oh, my shoulder, man, I can't. Yeah, I was like, oh God, man, we're limited, aren't we? And if you can't lift your arms up overhead, or you can't hang from a bar for 30 seconds, that's serious. If you can't put weight on your hands in a push-up position on the ground because your wrists are so tight and sore, that's a problem. We need to start to do things to treat these symptoms of dysfunction.
Yep. Which to maybe if that point didn't hit home for some folks, like the actual fact that you can't place weight on your hand because your wrist is sore, that is not a huge problem. You can work around that. But what we know is that by working around that, you are going to cause other issues.
Other problems.
And this is the thing. This is why we often nitpick on a small thing, like, oh, you can't squat. You can't go all the way down. Okay, well, that tells us a bit about your hips, maybe the muscles of the back, about your ankles. And over time, that's going to start to become a problem of its own. So we're kind of trying to treat this shit early on, right? Before it becomes an actual injury, whether to that area, i.e. the wrists, or somewhere else, like your shoulder. Because instead of placing your wrist, you've posted, I don't know, on your elbow, and now your shoulder's or your head or something like that.
Definitely. And look, we are working on a solution, a method for this. So right now we use our standards. We have our 6 strength and 6 mobility exercises that we believe, it is beneficial for jiu-jitsu folks to get on top of. Like, get strong at these movements, get flexible at these movements, and you're doing good, And it, even to us individually, it can point out where we're maybe not. It's difficult to be great at everything. That's totally understandable. We've only got so much time and energy that we can allocate. But what's really good is if something stands out as being so bad, so red flag, that is your low-hanging fruit. That is the highest leverage thing you can do. You start to address it. And you address that. And then suddenly, hang on, I addressed my really poor ankle mobility from not tapping to foot locks, and now my squat's gotten better, and now my overall strength is up because I fixed this one thing. It's having carryover benefits. And my goal, our goal, I should say, is to have a very easy system for you to be able to assess, where am I at? Am I actually physically deteriorating, even though my jiu-jitsu might be going good?
Yeah.
And this isn't to make you feel bad. This is just to give you a bit of a feedback.
Yeah, to shine a light on some things that you might be oblivious to.
Yeah.
And this is it's a mechanical thing, right?
Yes.
It's a mechanical assessment that we're talking about here, which is like, strength and flexibility aside, it's like if you can't just get into certain positions with your body, then you can't work with them.
Yes.
You can't even strengthen them.
It's not available to you.
Yeah, that's right. And so I think for like people who've been on the mats for a longer period of time, most would be able, this would resonate with them. Like, yeah, like I move like shit. Like I'm tight. My back's tight. Inverting's hard.
Yeah.
Squatting's hard. It's like, yeah, like because you're just becoming tighter and tighter and tighter. And that's, jiu-jitsu, beautiful thing. You find a way to work with what you got. But actually, in terms of your movement as a human in a body, it's getting progressively worse.
You ain't looking like no panther. No, you're looking like Yoda. But you haven't got a fucking force to help you out.
And Yoga can move though, right? Did that saber fight and shit?
No, I'm talking old Yoda.
Yeah.
I'm talking just prior to dying.
Fair.
He's got the stick. He might be able to move an X-wing with his mind, but he can barely move his body without a prop. And look,
that Michael Musumeci power.
You need it. It comes from his pasta. Lots of olive oil. I think this is my ideal because I've seen this. And we've seen our friends disable themselves through jiu-jitsu. People who've been stalwart, hardcore warriors, jiu-jitsu to the death, and they just hit a point where they're like, holy shit, I'm in too much pain. I can't do the thing I love anymore. And it's a breaking point, really. Then they make a change, and it's like, holy shit, they're back.
They make a change or they stop training.
They basically retire.
Yeah, and you're like, oh, nah.
Adapt or die.
Yeah.
And when they adapt, it's incredible because, we have a friend who did make a change, and wow, it's so impressive to see them after.
Do we?
Yeah, our friend Mr. Smeebert.
Yes.
After so many years of just reject,
Yep. Coach Paulie.
And then, I was so pleased to hear he'd made the change. This is what I feel will be great. Technology, because technology does exist, we can rebuild him. You've got a phone. I say, hey, Joe, can you do me a squat? I record Joe on the phone, and our app, will say, hey, this is your squat. And
it's shit.
It'll say, here's your ankles, here's the joint ankle, here's the knee, here's the hip, here's your back, here's your score, here's the good, here's what you need to work on, and go from there. And we will be able to do that for every major movement we require.
This is coming, by the way. This is not there
No.
now.
But what I'm saying is, in terms of the technology, it does exist in other apps, and people are using it to improve, how people are moving. And this is what I want for jiu-jitsu. I want a simple way for people to know how well or not well they're doing, and then give them a method for fixing it.
Yeah, I mean, to us, the fact that jiu-jitsu, we know that jiu-jitsu academies don't have any kind of physical screening process for new people signing up. It might be, are you dying? Are you pregnant? Did you have heart surgery? Okay. Yeah.
You're fine.
Yeah. Knowing what we know and also working in gyms and in fitness, it's like, man, it's criminal. Yeah. It's criminal that you don't have a process for just checking on that. I trained with a guy some years ago. He was a new sign up. I think he'd done some privates at the gym that I was at. He'd been doing privates for a while, and then he joined the classes. And he was, like a dad, so middle-aged fella, probably somewhere around where I'm at now. And he was great, but I noticed he always kind of limped around. And I kind of just thought he was in his initial kind of couple of months, so he was always just wrecked. He's just putting all of his effort into everything and was always... So I thought, he's just limping around because he's exhausted. But then one day I kind of noticed he walked into the gym with the limp. And I was like, man, what's going on there? Like, we got... And I can't remember exactly, but he was like, I had a huge car accident and my back got all compressed and my hips fucked. And I was like, whoa, when was that? He's like, I was like a couple of years ago. And I just sort of quizzed him quickly, like, did you do a rehab process? Are you doing something about that now? He was like, no, I'm not. No, I didn't. And I said, have you told the coaches here? And he was like, oh, no, I don't think so. And I was just, as a gym owner, I'm like not a jiu-jitsu, but I'm like, motherfucker, you are a liability.
Dude.
Like, I would be concerned about you coming to my stretch class.
Yeah.
Let alone jumping in and rolling with these cats.
Yeah.
And so, you can look at it from multiple perspectives, but every gym owner wants their students to have a positive experience.
Yeah.
And ideally love the gym and stay at it for a long time. And like, not having something that could identify that someone is actually carrying some major mechanical deficiencies is a real problem.
Yeah.
And probably not a problem you got to deal with, because that guy probably, ended up with a bunch more injuries and then just never showed up again.
Sure.
And in that way, the coach or the gym never got the feedback from old mate.
Yeah.
Hey man, I loved it, but it destroyed my body.
Yeah.
But so if you're not hearing that, then you're not putting a process in place. It's like, it's a bit of a cycle there.
And look, I also have a good friend of mine who's a trainer who I used to train with back in the days, the early days. Legend. He had tried BJJ, not to my knowledge. I had moved to Melbourne at that time. I wasn't even doing BJJ, but there's a gym near where we used to live, and he had gone there. BJJ, let's try this thing out. And they were doing guillotines, and it cranked his neck. And, he's just a couple sessions into it. And so his neck's jacked up. He's a pretty muscular dude. It caused a car accident. He's trying to back up in the car, and he couldn't turn his head to shoulder check. and he checked his mirror, couldn't look, backed up, and backed into someone. That's $5,000.
Boss.
And he was like, jiu-jitsu.
Jiu-jitsu saved my life.
You know, and that's the thing. Jiu-jitsu increased my car premiums. That's the thing. I'm not saying that's the case for everyone, but we have survivorship bias. They talk about this in entrepreneurship. You only hear the stories of the successes. There's no highlight podcast on, this business failed after it did this. This business also failed. This one was really good and then went to zero after 2 years. No, we only hear about the big billion-dollar businesses because that sounds cool and entertaining. We don't want the horror stories of who completely fucked it up. But here's the problem. That could be you. You could be that injury horror story, which through no real fault of your own, just weren't managed well enough, weren't helped enough. And that's turned into something which means you never do jiu-jitsu again, and maybe you don't live your life quite as athletically as you could in the future.
Yeah, man. And I don't want to do a podcast episode about your broken ass.
Well, no. I think what is amazing...
Don't become another statistic.
No, not at all. But what's been cool...
Prevail.
What I've seen, yes, gravity must be defeated. People going for surgeries because they needed to, coming back, following our advice, and now they're back on the mats. There has been at least 4 discussions like this in our coaching chat as part of our Facebook group of people prevailing through better advice.
Yeah.
Which is great. Like, it's not like I'm surprised. It's just, it's awesome. There's someone goes, hey, I just had the hernia surgery and I did what you said and now I'm back and I feel good.
Yeah.
And I didn't think this could happen.
Yeah, there's sometimes, like, we give so much advice through our community and through our Instagram and stuff that sometimes you feel like, people even like following what we're doing.
This?
But yeah, when people are like, man, I did what you said and I'm fucking stoked and I feel great. You're like, oh, wow.
Yes.
Yeah, it's awesome. I actually ran into, I got to give a shout out to Guy from Garage Jiu-Jitsu.
Yeah, my guy.
Yeah, friend. I've known Guy for a long time. I was just chatting to him. He fought at Subversion on the weekend and he won. And then we're having chat afterwards and he was like, oh, hey man, like I've been using your app. It's so good.
Yeah.
And I was like, nah.
Yeah.
Really?
And Garage Tuggerah is now an Academy subscriber.
Oh, with Nick.
Yeah.
Man, we were blue belts together.
Awesome.
Fucking legend. I saw him on Saturday too. But yeah, I was like, really? Like I almost didn't believe him. I'm like, what programs you been doing? And he's like, I've been doing Strength 101 and Mobility Foundation. But he said, bro, I hate the gym. But he's like, your app actually made it really fun for me to go. And he said, that mobility thing, man, like my hips, my shit's just moving better. So and cool. I was like, dude, that's so cool.
How nice.
Yeah.
It wasn't just lip service. It was real.
Yeah.
And look, here's the thing. I think Joe is right in saying, and you had mentioned Kelly Starrett had said something similar around the...
Yeah, it was Kelly Starrett. He did a podcast with Rogan years ago, back when Starrett was cool.
Look, if you haven't heard of the guy, Supple Leopard is still like a pretty solid book.
A decent reference book, yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, he's the guy that introduced lacrosse balls and bands and mobility in that kind of soft tissue release way. And
he helped CrossFitters be less broken.
You know? He did. He also demonized stretching, which I hold against him.
Well, that came a little bit later, but yeah.
No, that was from the beginning. His whole mantra was don't stretch. Stretching doesn't work.
Really?
Yeah, he says it explicitly on that Rogan episode.
Oh, how interesting. I never got that from him. But I did meet him one time.
But he did make a good point. He said the gym, like going to the gym and doing weights is your like formalized ballet training.
Right.
And then going and doing CrossFit
is the
freestyle dance battle.
Right.
Yeah. And I like that because it's the same with jiu-jitsu, right? Jiu-jitsu is your freestyle dance battle. The gym is the formalized stuff. It can be sometimes difficult for people to draw the connection like, I'm doing this, why do I need to do that? But having this practice of formalized, consistent movements that you do under load in the gym gives us, right, in context of today's conversation, a diagnostic tool to be like, oh, that feels a bit off. Oh, what's going on there, right? But it also strengthens you through these this variety of fundamental movement patterns, which then helps you do better when you're doing the freestyle dance battle.
Yeah, and here's the thing, people get surprised. You know, people are like, lifting weights made me stronger. Doing flexibility stuff, I'm more flexible. What the fuck is this? What is this magical thing you've created? We didn't create shit. What we're doing here is very common sense things. But it seems that in the name of chasing the jiu-jitsu dragon, touching the glory of full of adrenaline, fight to the death, roll at your best, diving back takes, all the amazingness, we forget that all the other sports we witness, whether it be any kind of football, basketball, any ball sport, any athletic pursuit, there is so much stretching, gym work, meditation, recovery. There's so much that goes behind that. Yet we expect we can go into jiu-jitsu and go absolutely crazy and just do none of that. Do something that's far more demanding than almost any other sport and be like, no, I don't need to just support that with anything. Now, here's the thing. We're not, as humans, we're not great at taking our own advice. You know, we're really good at helping other people because I'm fine. It never happened to me, but my brother, he needs a cholesterol check. And that's the thing. I had a cholesterol check a while back and it was high actually. It's about 2-3 years ago. I went to doctor to get some bloods done.
Were you eating your triple butter sandwich at the time?
I actually did. You meant to fast? You meant to fast?
I'm very surprised by that.
You meant to fast before you're getting a blood test? And I forgot. I'm at the cafe eating a ham and cheese croissant. And I got a text message reminder, your blood test is today. I was like, oh,
yeah.
Coffee.
I'll just swallow it in one go. Should do the job.
Go. Ran. Oh, your blood pressure's up a little. Oh, your cholesterol's high. Anyway, but it did make me think, you know what? I do, even if that was a misread, I do go too hard on it. Why do I consume so much saturated fat? Like, I eat far more than I need to. Maybe I got to pull that in a little bit. And that's all we're talking about, folks. We're not actually talking about totally revamping your life. We're just talking about get a checkup, check in with your body and have someone other than yourself let you know, hey, was that good? Or maybe there's room to improve there, because that is what's going to save you the surgery and that's going to save you big pain long term.
Yep.
There it is, folks. We love you to bits and we would love you to give us a like, a subscribe and a 5-star review. If you do that for us, it shares the love and we appreciate it. Peace.
Do it.